The Dallas Cowboys have had legendary defensive players in their 60 years of existence. In my opinion, only a handful of teams in NFL history can match up with the legendary defenses of the Dallas Cowboys.
They've got 2 to go. Craig unloading. Michael down.
They essentially produced at least 3 legendary defenses since they arrived on the scene, Doomsday 1 and 2.
As the fourth period began, Denver's determined offense still needed more restoration work from Norris Weiss. What it got instead was a demolition job from the Doomsday defense.
Along with the no-name defenses of the 90s.
Speed-burning defense, #1 in the NFL.
In this video, I'm on a journey to put together the greatest Dallas Cowboys defense ever. This is going to be a tough ride. Be easy on your boy. This is not an all-time Dallas Cowboys defense in a traditional sense. This is a defense that I personally think will be the greatest defense in history in any era. Some players on my team probably won't be on my all-time Cowboys starting lineup. And that's because they either didn't play that many years with Dallas, or they simply don't fit my scheme or other players' playing style. So if you see a player that you think should be on the all-time Cowboys defense, but isn't in the video, the reason I left them off is probably due to schematic issues. For this to work, I had to make sure that each player had at least 5 years or more seasons with the Cowboys. The player has to have at least 1 Pro Bowl or 1 All-Pro. I'm going to build my defense from the defensive backfield down to the defensive lineman. My scheme is going to be a 4-2-5 defense. That is going to play a huge factor on who I put on my defense. Again, this is a defense that I think will be able to play in any era, including in today's Shanahan-type offenses. We're starting this party off with Cliff Harris.
The same play.
Cliff Harris was a calculated maniac.
Looks like he's been in a 15-round fight. Got a cut lip, I believe, huh?
A football genius with a vicious, hard-hitting playing style. When Harris roamed the secondary, receivers did not go across the middle without paying for it. Harris changed the game. Before Harris, teams used their free safeties on high alignments, often shadowing the deep ends of the field.
Cliff Harris walked away from the explosion point just like he always does. He got out of there just before the crash.
The receiver, I believe, Tom, is Ahmad Rashad.
Landry used Harris differently. Harris, a free safety, was used oftentimes in the box to stop the rushing attack. He covered tight ends, played in the slot. Landry used them all over the field. Harris racked up 6 Pro Bowls in a row and was a 6-time All-Pro player. We oftentimes look at Harris's intensity on the field, but he had a brilliant mind. His ability to calculate in detail where a player was going to be down to a fraction was legendary.
Intended for Pearson, the same play.
Because Harris was one of the first players to look at the field in terms of mathematical equations, I'm sitting him high as a cover 1 robber.
I guess what you're saying in effect is when he rolls, you pretty well know which side he's going to throw the ball.
Well, naturally, it'll be stronger to the side he rolls to. Actually, it's a half roll. But the side he rolls to, he'll be stronger there in that area and weaker back on the weak side. So we'll know more where to play.
Klein is 235, and he and Harris met earlier, and Harris won it, and this time Klein must think that 43's chasing him around on purpose.
Harris's range was absolutely impeccable.
Down the side of Melvin. Intercepted at the 44-yard line.
You'll see the rest of the play from behind Fran, and watch Barnes make the play. There's the guy from Washington College.
His understanding of measures and distance was rooted in his analytical background in college. I think his 4.5 speed will be great for my scheme. My slot cornerback is going to be the legend himself, Mel Renfro, but he won't be your normal slot cornerback.
Mel Renfro starred on the Dallas Cowboys for 14 years.
In my scheme, I'm going to use him as a flex nickel safety. That way he can play close up against slot receivers, but also play back into deep shells if I switch up concepts. So what is a flex nickel safety? Think of the Cowboys safety Donovan Wilson, who oftentimes play as a hybrid safety in a variety of ways, including close to the line of scrimmage. He's oftentimes used close for bump and run coverage purposes, and back as a safety in long yardage situations. Mel Renfro would be great in this scheme. I can play him in zone schemes as well as the flats. Remember, Renfro was one of the best tacklers of his generation. His instincts were unparalleled. A guy who always was around the ball, an Ed Reed type player. We oftentimes talk about Deion Sanders, but the first athlete at the cornerback position for the Cowboys was Mel Renfro. Renfro was a cornerback, safety, kickoff returner, wide receiver, and running back. Unlike Prime, he was once considered the best player in the league in two positions on defense, safety and cornerback.
Versatile Mel Renfro, number 20, who started the season as an all-pro safety, ended the year at cornerback, and may also become an all-pro at that position.
Renfro played safety in his first years in the league. He was the best at that position. It wasn't until Landry switched another legendary defensive back named Cornell Green from cornerback to play safety, and that is when Renfro Island was born.
2nd and 6. Fake was to Willard. Intercepted by Renfro.
Throughout his career, Renfro went to 10 straight Pro Bowls, 4 second-team All-Pros, along with 2 Super Bowl rings. Renfro could have went to the Hall of Fame as both safety and a cornerback. That's how good he was. Prime and Renfro on the same field is crazy athleticism. That speed along with those ball skills wouldn't be fair.
Receiver slips. It is intercepted by Sanders.
Prime is going to be on an island by himself, of course. That's the only way to go.
Probably no faster player in the NFL than Deion Sanders.
Here's the interception. Even if he's inbounds or out of bounds, Deion does it a little with his hands, but mostly with his feet. He just gets his hands there. Westbrook really is becoming frustrated.
Sanders in his prime has never had a legendary player on the opposite side of him until now. After Renfro retired, Dallas didn't have a legendary cornerback until 1981 when an undrafted free agent from a small college came on the scene, a true ball hawker, Everson Walls.
The cornerback they had was Renfro. Adderley came late in the game to Green Bay, but look at this kid with a nose for the football, and he may be the answer.
It didn't take any time until Walls broke that record with 11 in 1981. Walls Island was on full display during his days in Dallas with 3 interception titles.
Here he leads the NFL, trying to become the first player ever to do it 3 times.
The only cornerback in history to achieve that award 3 times. Walls played against the wall with hardly any help behind him, and oftentimes did not. Came down with the ball in his hands.
Today, trying to go to Monk. Walls is with him. No
Wall. Here he is man-to-man that time. Gary Clark tried to give him a little out move and then go up. Everson Walls just stayed right with him.
To me, if we're talking about cornerbacks, Walls is the greatest ball hawker in the history of the NFL. Can you imagine having Walls, Prime, and Renfro, arguably 3 of the greatest hawkers in the history of the league on the same team? Unfair.
Picked off by Deion Sanders.
Staying in, the pass intended for Wilson. Throws it high, down in the corner.
Add that with a maniac on the loose as a robber.
Behind, caught by Upchurch. He bubbled.
This has to be the greatest defensive backfield ever. And yet, we aren't finished. Here's my 5th defensive back. What? You thought I forgot about him?
When you run, he's back there. When you pass, he's breaking on the ball. He runs a 4.3 40.
Woody is definitely going to be my flex safety linebacker, the most versatile defensive player in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Drafted as a linebacker to play as a defensive back in 1992, Woody was a generational talent who literally changed the game. Outside of his 5 consecutive Pro Bowls and 3 All-Pros, Woody was what you call a man of many hats. Jimmy Johnson and Dave Campo used him as a safety, linebacker, and cornerback. If we look at modern day defensive packages, most of them owe a debt to Woodson, the absolute definition of a flex player. With Woody, I can make him an outside linebacker to form a kind of hybrid 43 concept inside of a nickel defense. Or I can play him in the slots as a cornerback, or use him down in the box to spy out RPO quarterbacks, Harris, Renfro, Prime, Walls, and Woodson. This group can play in the 70s versus teams like the Steelers and obliterate their passing game, and then dominate teams like the Chiefs in modern times. Can you imagine Harris sitting high without worrying about Prime's side, not really worrying about Wall's side either, just paying attention to the middle of the field like a stalker?
Clyde is 235, and he and Harris met earlier, and Harris won it, and this time Clyde must think that 43's chasing him around on purpose.
That would be destruction to every wide receiver who dare come his way. The possibilities are endless. The secondary is loaded with flexible players, the ultimate flex defense. And I'm not finished yet. Next week, I'm putting together my top Dallas Cowboys 6 nickel players up front in the trenches on defense. These are my secondary honorable mentions. Waters is arguably the greatest clutch defensive back in postseason history. He's tied for more interceptions in postseason in NFL history. Waters was oftentimes the soul of those 70s backfield Cowboys teams. Green was 4 decades before his time, the first great athlete at the defensive back position, north of 6 feet tall. The legendary Don Bishop is the first cornerback star in Cowboys history. Bishop was the first cornerback to ever have a Pro Bowl and All-Pro selection. Billy Bates, a cultural icon who changed the game, arguably the greatest blitzer and special teams ace in history.
In trouble is Eason. Just does stay on his feet.
Kevin Smith is one of the most overlooked legends in Cowboys history.
Kevin Smith.
When he was healthy, Smith was a top 5 cornerback, oftentimes labeled the Jerry Rice stopper. After Woody left, Jones selected a phenom at the safety position. His name was Roy Williams, the hardest, most vicious safety of his generation.
I don't think all the lights are on right now in that house. What day is it, Ty? You know what city you're in?
When Williams was in his prime, no one was better. 5 straight Pro Bowls, a Rookie of the Year title, and countless concussions followed his career. Michael Downs was an undrafted free agent pickup who absolutely was the definition of a playmaker. He had no weaknesses in his game. One of the all-time underrated players of the NFL.
2 to go. Craig unloading. Michael Downs. Here comes the blitz. Archer reads it, rolls out. He's hit as he lets it go.
And they come with it. Tips does not have a chance.
Jefferson again in motion. 50.
Thurman was a man of many hats, the player who kept the defensive back afloat after Waters retired. Thurman was a playmaker with the best of them. The name where the famous Thurman thieves were coined.
Carter is in the goal, running back.
Terrence Newman in his prime was one of the best cover cornerbacks in the league.
Cowboys on top of that. Terrence Newman makes an interception on the pass intended.
Larry Brown was big time in big games. Another underrated players of those 90s teams.
Blitz, the pass is picked up and open field.
Randy Hughes could have been a legendary player, but injuries derailed him. Still was a phenomenal talent when he was healthy.
Dallas has it. It's Randy Hughes. He's to the 30.
There you have it, my all-time defensive team. Do you guys see any weaknesses in this lineup? If you do, let me know. Until next time, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.